bit of context. Good morning. Hello, everyone in streaming land. So today's story needs a little bit of context, so I want to give the context first, okay? But because it's all written down, I'm going to let you guys tell us what the context is. So, first we're going to take a look at Numbers 15, 37, 41. I'm having one of those days. Arlene, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got it right. Okay, no, it's just, everything's dropping out. Arlene, do you want to read for us this paragraph here?
Sure. Adonai said to Moses as follows: "Speak to the Israelite people and instruct them to make for themselves fringes on the corners of their garments throughout the ages. Let them attach a cord of blue to the fringe at each corner. That shall be your fringe. Look at it and recall all the commandments of Adonai and observe them, so that you do not follow your heart and eyes in your lustful urge. Thus you shall be reminded to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I, Adonai, am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I, your God, Adonai."
Oh, okay, so where is this from? How do we know this paragraph? It's, it's the third paragraph of the Shema. Very good. Now, what are the critical elements of this paragraph? What are the things we need to be aware of? Right, what's in here?
Making a fringe.
You gotta make fringes on your talit, right? Good. Why, and what is important about the fringe?
I have to remember. If I
You
do
have to
this,
remember.
I'll remember.
Right, and what are you remembering?
Commandments.
God.
Commandments, good. And what are you trying to remember what are you trying to avoid?
Sin.
A lustful
In
urge.
general.
Lustful urge, right? Not follow your heart, not follow your eyes, not follow your lustful urges, okay? Good. And by the way, I'm the Lord your God who brought you out, Lord your God who brought you out from Egypt, I am the Lord. Okay, now, so where's this blue coming from? This is part A. So, Nikki, please.
The sages taught Islam, which is the source of the sky blue dye used in ritual fringes, has the following characteristics. Its body resembles the sea. Its form resembles that of a fish. It emerges once in 70 years, and with its blood one dyes wool sky blue, the ritual fringes. It is scarce and therefore it is expensive.
Okay, so we get the blue dye from the chilazon, right, from this snail. Now, interesting things about the chilazon, okay? So I have a little side note here. There have been numerous attempts to identify the chilazon from which the chilit is derived. Aside from the characteristics mentioned in the Gemara, some of which are ambiguous, like it only comes out every 70 years, there are other characteristics mentioned by the sages elsewhere. Among these are the following. It was trapped with nets in the portion of Zebulun along the coast of Eretz Yisrael from Haifa to Tyre, okay? It has a pouch that grows with it. It would be cracked open while alive to enhance the clarity of the dye. Now, in recent generations, there's been a renewed effort to identify the chilazon, utilizing these descriptions found in traditional sources, as well as historical, archaeological, and linguistic sources. Now, we want to get this dye, because our seats are, what color are our seats right now?
White.
White. Why are they white?
Because we don't have the blue.
Because we don't know what the dye is. So we're doing the best we can. If you can't do it, you don't do it. Okay, now, Hasidic Rabbi Gershon Hanoch of Radzin reached the conclusion that the chilazon is the common cuttlefish, Sepia officinalis. Those who accepted this conclusion produced dye from the ink sac that the cuttlefish uses for self-defense. But no. The late rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Isaac Herzog, said that the chilazon is the Jathinthla, the violet sea snail or common violet snail. Okay? And then there's also others who said it was Prussian blue. Now, the various identifications of the chilazon, the one that is currently the most widely accepted is the chilazon is the Murex trunculus, a type of sea snail. It most fits the sage's descriptions of the Chilazon. And this identification is corroborated by archaeological evidence and chemical analysis. I'm gonna come back to the chemical analysis in a moment. Yeah,
You would catch snails in the net?
yeah. I take the word for it.
Okay.
You move the net, okay? Because the snails are not moving quickly.
No.
Although in water, they might move more quickly in water. I don't know, I'm not an expert on this. The Chilazon produces a clear secretion. But when it's exposed to sunlight, it turns dark purple, and then after processing, dark blue. Now here's the chemical analysis. There's another section in this part of the Talmud that we're looking at that talks about you can't use indigo. Now indigo is a plant, right? Now why are they concerned about indigo? You can't use indigo. So here's the neat thing. This is where the chemical analysis comes in. If you look at the blue dye, the chemical produced by the indigo plant, indigo has a certain chemical structure, and there's carbons and other things in there, right? That molecule, when you take the dye from the Chilazon, from the muric snail, and you expose it to sunlight and it turns dark, and then you process it, that blue is chemically identical to indigo. Which means the reason why the Talmud is so strong about you can't use indigo is because indigo is a way of perfectly fooling us that you can't tell. If I give you a fringe that's been dyed with indigo, like from blue jeans, and I give you one that's dyed from techelet, you can't tell the difference. Even under a microscope, you can't tell the difference because they're chemically identical. So that's why they have to say you can't use that one. And that's why we think that the muric snail is the correct one for indigo. Yeah.
I don't understand that reasoning because I understood that if you purify something
Mhm.
to its chemical purity,
Mhm.
it loses its you don't consider whether or not it's kosher because it's chemically pure.
All right, but we're not talking about kosher for food.
I know,
Right?
but if you now purify the same chemical from
Yeah.
indigo
Yeah.
and from the snail,
Right.
and you purify it and it's the same compound, why is one better than the other?
Aha!
We don't know.
Here we go. Because we're commanded to get it from the snail. And we're not commanded to get it from the plant. In the same way that you can't tell who is a firstborn genetically, right? You can't tell by looking at any test under heaven whether someone's a firstborn or a secondborn. You have to be attentive and you had to watch what was going on. And with the indigo dye versus the snail dye, God is watching. So God would know, did you get it from the correct source? Did you get it from the incorrect source? In the same way that, going back to your kashrut example, I put in front of you a pound of flesh. You can't tell if it was a kosher kill or not. There's no way to know. The only way to know. So what's to stop any butcher from just putting out any old meat that's not kosher and calling it kosher? There's nothing stopping them other than God knows.
What's in the law?
Well, the law. But the thing is, you can't tell. You have to trust them. The same thing's going on here.
Was indigo available in biblical times in Israel?
Probably. I mean, it's certainly available at the time of the Talmud where they're saying, hey, don't use indigo.
But how would they object that?
Oh, no, I just wanna say, can you apply that reasoning nowadays when, I don't know, a couple of years, stem cell based meat is gonna be available? I mean, I assume it'll be kosher,
So that's the argument,
but
is
it'll
that
look like, you know,
the argument is, if you have meat that's produced from you started with a kosher, a stem cells from a kosher animal that was kosher killed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be kosher. On that argument, pork should be kosher if it's
Right.
cultured meat.
That would include then going to eat a cheeseburger out of it.
Right.
Okay.
Again, I mean, there's a whole area that I won't go into because it's easier for me just to be more traditional.
So I have a question about a
Yep.
tallis.
Yep.
It says to attach the TT to a garment. I
Yep.
think if the garment is clothes, a shirt,
Mhm.
is a tallis considered a garment? I don't,
Okay,
did they,
working
why don't
from-
they say a tallis?
Working from this backwards, why is it that I wear lots of garments, but it's only a talit, right? Because it says, I hope it says, the corners of their garments. What kind of garment has a corner, right? Like, my shirt doesn't have corners, not really, right? I mean, it's not really a cornerful thing.
It could be a
And my
square
sweater
thing.
doesn't have corners. In order to have corners,
It have to be a
it's gotta
square.
be rectangular
Or a square, yeah.
or square. I include squares within my rectangles, okay? It's gotta be rectangular to have corners, okay?
Right.
So if you have a poncho, right?
Mhm.
Four-cornered poncho, you should put seat on it. The reason why we wear a talit is because none of our other clothing qualifies. And the only way to fulfill this commandment is to actually go out and get yourself a four-cornered garment.
So why don't they say talit instead of the word garment? Or is it synonymous? Or what?
Because the Bible came first.
I didn't hear that.
The Bible came first,
No.
right?
All right.
We made the talit in order to fulfill the four-cornered garment,
Okay.
right? Okay, yeah,
But you see the Orthodox wearing a shirt
Mhm.
that has talit on it. See,
no, sure.
Well, underneath
But-
it's
but-
talit
but-
katan.
It's a talit
They wear it
katan
underneath.
is the shirt that they're wearing. Is like that. You put your head through there,
Mhm.
okay? It's a poncho, little poncho. You wear it under, and yeah, they're hanging out from their shirt because they want to see it, right? Because they should see them and not be distracted, or you should be distracted. Okay,
Really?
Yeah.
A quick comment, there's some group in Israel that actually apparently will put tzitzit on their bedclothes, because it's square.
okay,
There.
okay, sure.
But some of them will cut off one corner, so it's not no longer four corner. The other is,
I guess if you're gonna wear a bed sheet.
Yeah.
Well, your top sheet, yes, but the fitted bottom, no.
not right.
Okay.
How did they say, we talked about molecular
Mhm.
equivalency, how did the sages know this way back then? There weren't microscopes.
They didn't know this, but they noticed that they couldn't tell the difference between indigo and tehelite. They couldn't tell the difference.
Okay.
That was good enough for them.
And then the other thing is, the snails is not kosher,
Mhm.
okay?
We're not eating it.
We're not eating it.
Yeah.
Okay, because my follow-up question was because gelatin from pig
Yeah.
is not kosher, but
Yeah.
that we are eating.
But that's just chemically different at this point. Yeah, I mean, you can, if you want to make a skunk skin coat, go for it. It's kosher. It's kind of smelly, but the only skin we're not supposed to use is pork skin because there's a specific prohibition from the carcass. But you wanna wear like a lion skin jacket, go ahead. Probably not a good idea. No, we can use stuff from skin. We just can't eat it. I mean, and I have to tell you, I've never been tempted to eat my talit. It hasn't happened. Okay, on with the story, okay? Because there is actually a story in here, okay? No, we're on the second page. It is
It is
taught.
taught?
Yep.
Okay. It is taught in a Baratah that Rabbi Nathan says, there is no mitzvah, however minor, that is written in the Torah for which there is no reward given in this world. And in the world to come, I do not know how much reward is given.
Okay, so following up on what I said on Shabbat, things that have, you do a mitzvah, you get the reward in this world, and you get a reward in the world to come. And I don't know how big it is in the world to come, but every single mitzvah you do in this world, there is a reward for it. Okay? Okay, so let's go to the specific
Okay.
example.
Go and learn from the following incident concerning the mitzvah of the ritual fringes. There was an incident involving a certain man who was diligent about mitzvah of ritual fringes. This man heard that there was a prostitute in one of the cities overseas and took 400 gold coins as her payment. He sent her 400 gold coins and fixed a time to meet her.
Okay, so we've got this guy. He is punctilious about tzitzit. He always wears his tzitzit. He's careful about that. And remember, what's the purpose of the tzitzit?
To remember the
Remember
commandments.
that?
And stop you from
Lustful
lustful urges.
Right.
However, it's not working so far, because he hears there is a lady of the night and the day and the afternoon, apparently, and she charges a high rate.
Yeah.
And he makes an appointment. Okay. Next paragraph.
When his time came, he came and sat at the entrance to her house. The maidservant of that prostitute entered and said to her, "That man who sent you 400 gold coins came and sat at the entrance."
Okay, she's got a whole staff, okay?
Uh-huh.
She's in charge of this operation, she's got a staff,
She's
you know, there's a vestibule. She is the woman, yes.
In some societies, prostitution may not have the same connotation as it has in our society.
Right, because if you think back to the story I was gonna teach tomorrow night, but decided not to, at the Torah on Tap, Judah and Tamar, right? Judah, chapter 18 Genesis, Judah is on his way to sheep shearing, and Mimo has got this daughter-in-law Tamar, and Tamar's got a problem in that her first husband, Judah's eldest son, died, didn't have any kids. Second son wasn't interested in having kids with her, so he died as well. Third son, Judah's not letting her marry him, and she's like in the status of, you know, I'm supposed to be married, I'm supposed to get a kid through someone in this family. So she waits by the side of the road, dressed as a prostitute, and he goes in unto her and, you know, they negotiate what the fee will be. He doesn't have any money on him. He says, I'll send you a sheep. She says, fine. Here's how will I know that, how do I know? I need some security for a deposit. She says, fine, here's my ring, here's my staff, you know, and then comes back the next day and there's no woman, right? And then later on, Tamar shows up pregnant, and it's like Judah says, well, clearly she's been unfaithful to the family, let's kill her. And she goes and she says, well, the man who got me in this way, this is the staff and this is the ring, do you recognize this? But, and then her children are parrots and his brother. Anyways, who is the ancestor of King David. In any event, nowhere in the Bible does it say there's anything wrong for Judah going to see that prostitute. It doesn't occur to them that there's a problem there. So you're right. Maybe there's no problem going to see a prostitute. However, this is a guy who's careful about tzitzit. And something's probably not right here. Okay? So let's find out what happens.
She said, let him enter. He entered. She arranged 7 beds for him, 6 of silver and 1 of gold. Between each and every one of them, there was a ladder made of silver. And the top bed was the one that was made of gold. She went up and sat naked on the top bed. And he too went up in order to sit naked facing her.
Okay, this is like a bunk bed from like, I don't know what's going on here. This is like a stairway to heaven. I don't know. Something's going on. I can't teach this to the kids. I'm sorry. It's for some reason it's just can't do that. Okay.
In the meantime, his 4 ritual fringes came and slapped him on his face. He dropped down and sat himself on the ground, and she also dropped down and sat on the ground. She said to him, I take an oath by the Gapa of Rome that I will not allow you to go until you tell me what defect you saw in me.
Okay, this is a disaster, right? His seat are attacking him, right? They're attacking him. Okay, what's really happening? His conscience? But what's really happening? Let's take a step back. Can seat attack you?
No.
Okay, but if you're wearing that kind of thing and you go to take it off, you're pulling it up over your head.
They're hitting you.
They're hitting him, right? He's getting caught up in the garment. He's in such a hurry, I guess, to get undressed, that he's getting tangled up in the seat, and he's seeing them, right? Like he's seeing the seat, right? And he's remembering, not allowed to do that. She, of course, doesn't understand. She thinks, oh my goodness, he's come all this way, and it's like, oh, no, you're not worth the money, right? So she's very disappointed. She's very disappointed. Okay.
Susan, what's the Gapa?
Gapa we think is wine.
I'm sorry?
We think it's wine.
Oh, wine.
We think. We're not sure.
Like guapa.
Yeah, we're not sure.
It's not a person.
Or it's a statue, or it's a something. It's something worth swearing by. Okay. I'll have to look it up.
He said to her, I take an oath by the temple service that I never saw a woman as beautiful as you. But there is one mitzvah that the Lord our God commanded us, and its name is ritual fringes. And in the passage where it is commanded, it is written twice, I am the Lord your God.
Okay, now remember, when we looked at that passage, it's all about seat, and then remember, I'm the Lord your God who brought you out from Egypt, I'm the Lord your God, right? And that last line there, I could have edited it out, right? Because you didn't really need it for the story, did you? But no, it's there. It's part of that paragraph, right? And it's in fact, that paragraph is there because of that phrase, right? Because I'm the Lord your God who brought you out from the land of Egypt, I'm the Lord your God, is the end of that paragraph. And originally the Shema had 4 sections, right? It had the first paragraph of the Shema, the second paragraph of the Shema, and the last paragraph. The last paragraph is to match the Seret HaDibrot, the 10 Commandments, which came in front. And the 10 Commandments start out with what? I'm the Lord your God who brought you out from the land of Egypt, right? So it's the bookend. And when in your Passover Seder, you know that passage where it says, I would have thought the Seder, why are we mentioning the Exodus of Egypt at night? It's not talking about the Seder. It's talking about that paragraph, right? He's saying, I can understand mentioning Exodus from Egypt by day, because that paragraph has tzitzit, and the tzitzit, you only wear them in the day. But why should I say the Exodus from Egypt paragraph at night, the tzitzit paragraph at night? Because I'm not wearing tzitzit at night. And the answer is because you should remember the Exodus from Egypt. We're not saying that paragraph because of the tzitzit, we're saying that paragraph because of the Exodus from Egypt. Which gives you I've just lengthened your Seder this year by about 2 minutes to explain that at your Seder when it comes up, okay? But this is important, right? I'm the Lord your God. So if it's doubled, it must be important. What does doubling mean?
The doubling of this phrase indicates, I am the one who will punish those who transgress my mitzvot, and I am the one who will reward those who fulfill them.
Aha. It gets even better.
Now, said the man, the 4 sets of ritual fringes appear to me as if they were 4 witnesses who will testify against me.
Right. So this thing that I'm doing, it's not unknown. And never mind what Judah did with Tamar, this is not something we do in our society. I should not be going to visit this woman, right? In secret, with a check with, 400 gold
But
pieces.
shouldn't he have known that before he went to see the woman? I mean, why Why do
Well-
they have to wait until it?
Well, the problem is, some people, he's careful about his tzitzit, but maybe he keeps them tucked in and he doesn't see them. I don't know. There's something going on here, right? It's a fantastic story.
It doesn't say if he's married though, does it?
No, he's not married. And it wouldn't matter if he was, because you could have more than one wife. And there's a separate story, which I might bring to you one day, about one of the rabbis used to get married. Every time he'd come to a new town, they'd find someone to marry him, and he'd marry her for the night, and then he'd divorce her in the morning.
But if he's not married,
Mhm.
if he is married, no matter how many wives he has, then he's committing adultery with them.
No, men cannot commit adultery.
Oh,
Well, good news.
Only women.
Okay, okay. Little review into the, we're talking about women in Jewish history earlier, into the, I'm not gonna say misogynistic, but I just said it, into the slightly tilted towards the men history of the Jewish tradition, right? If you look about adultery, it says sleeping with another man's wife. Or sleeping with someone who is not your husband. Doesn't say anything about, so a man can only commit adultery with a woman who is married. And the adultery is committed against the husband, right? You can have as many wives as you want. The rabbis thought this was stupid, but they, in all their examples, you had one wife and this wife and that wife. You can have as many wives as you want, you just can't sleep with another man's wife. Which is why, in the Orthodox world, men don't need to give a get if they want to get a second marriage after a divorce. They don't. They don't need to give a get. There's nothing stopping them from getting married again. The conservative movement says, until you give your wife a get, we won't perform the marriage for you. So, but there's no penalty in the tradition. Now, of course, they beat up on the man and they do all sorts of other things to ostracize him. But, but the woman is sort of the trapped party here.
So there's no allotment for change in the mores of society from then to now.
So about 1,000 years ago, Rabbi Gershom, in the 4 communities of Europe, he put in a takana, a decree. He said, for the next 1,000 years, although it says that there's no prohibition on having multiple wives, as long as we're living in Christian lands, and in Christian lands it is against their religion to have multiple wives, so too, we will not have multiple wives. And it's a rabbinic decree. He also said you shouldn't read other people's mail. It's just some general decrees out there, okay? But that was so that was the way to catch up to the mores. The Bible doesn't change, but we can change the way the law works. To give a contemporary but different example, Catholic priests are not allowed to get married. Orthodox priests are allowed to get married. Okay? In Winnipeg and other parts of Canada, there are Ukrainian Catholics and Ukrainian Orthodox. The Ukrainian Orthodox priests in Canada do not get married. Not because they're not allowed to get married, but because it would bring shame upon the Ukrainian community for the Catholic, for the Catholics to point at the priest who's married and say, oh my God, that's a terrible thing. So for the sake of peace in their community, they withhold themselves. Okay, so for the sake of peace within the European community, we withheld ourselves to only have one wife. In Sephardic lands, Spain, places where they were under Islamic rule, they had multiple wives, right? And when Israel was created, there were men coming from Morocco and other places with their 3 or 4 wives. Okay? It's insane.
It's the law in Israel now. You can have more than one wife.
If you arrive with more than one wife, they're still your wives, but you can't marry more than one wife in Israel. No, you can't do that.
But that follows the idea that we have to obey civil law wherever we find ourselves.
Yes, yes. Dina de Machuta Dina, the law of the land is the law, right? Otherwise, it's embarrassing for the Jewish people.
Okay, so if I understand this man was not breaking a commandment. So why did he feel guilty or stop doing whatever he was doing?
Well, I think it's still something that he shouldn't have been doing. Because marital relations are supposed to happen, within the context of marriage.
Right.
Right? And licentiousness is not something that we approve of, right? So there's no specific commandment against it, I guess. But the rabbis certainly weren't in favor of it. Hence the rabbi who got married each night when he went from town to town. I'll have to bring that story next week. I have a book on my shelf of interestingly difficult Talmudic tales. Okay, back to our story.
Okay.
So, now, they appeared as if there were 4 witnesses against, so the witnesses are going to testify against me of what I've done wrong, right? And certainly in the yeshiva world, the yeshiva bakers, they're supposed to be studying Torah, they're not supposed to be having sex, right? Just kind of goes, let's just take that as a given, okay? Okay.
All right, so she said to him, I will not allow you to go until you tell me, what is your name? And what is the name of your city? And what is the name of your teacher? And what is the name of the study hall in which you studied Torah?
Okay, she wants his card, his contact information, right?
His email address.
Who are you? Why are you here?
Not why are you here? She
Well,
knows
she
why
knows
he's here.
Who are you?
She wants to know where to find him. Why? Why is she suddenly interested?
Hey, you came all this way and nothing doing.
She's got 400 gold.
And
I mean, she's got the money.
Yeah.
Maybe she's interested in his ethics.
Right. This is a person who has demonstrated that rarest of human traits, self-restraint. And there is something that is in his tradition that he's learned in his city, in his school, from his teacher, that teaches him that there's something more important than your lustful desires, right? I've told this story before, but Judaism, the 3 big mitzvahs, right? Kashrut, Shabbat, Tacharat HaMishpacha. Kashrut, you can't eat all that stuff that seems yummy. Shabbat, you can't do all the activity that seems like fun. Tacharat HaMishpacha, you can only have sex when you're allowed to. Okay? That's all about self-restraint. Because what are the biggest 3 drives that human beings have? Hunger, boredom, and sex. And we put a limit on when you can have sex. You can have sex when you're married, or when the woman's gone to the mikveh, and only married women go to the mikveh. So there you go. You can do activities when we allow you, but not always. And you can only eat what we tell you. I've told you about my son in the supermarket. Okay. So Mordechai Becher. Anyways, a rabbi, I think his name is Mordechai Becher, gives this example. But it really happened to me. Okay? It really happened to me with my son. So you're at the store and you get to the checkout counter at the grocery store and you're in the aisle of temptation because they put all the candy bars right there. Right. And you're caught behind someone who, this is before the days of chips, she's trying to pay for her groceries with an out-of-country state check. Okay, so it's gonna take a little while. You're trapped and there's people behind you and you're trapped. And your kid says, I want a candy. And you say no. This kid says, I want a candy. He says no. He says, look, this is a bright kid. Here's the deal. You're gonna say no, I'm gonna have a tantrum. It's gonna be the tantrum beyond all tantrums. I am going to pull down things off the wall. I'm going to explode all over the place. You're gonna lose your cool. You're gonna spank me. the cashier is gonna be distracted from the check thing and call the manager. Manager's gonna call the authorities. The authorities are gonna come. This is gonna end up really bad for you. You'll end up losing your job. This is a whole big problem. Wouldn't it be easier just to give me the candy?
How old is your son? How old is your son at this time?
Now, that's his example.
Oh, is it?
In my example, I've got the son who says, I want the candy, and I've got a son who is like on the spectrum, bipolar, uncontrollable. I mean, this is a kid who could pull down the universe, right? I said, let me see the candy. I looked at it and I said, oh, I'm sorry, it's not kosher. And he says, oh. And puts it back. This is not kosher. So there you go. He's demonstrated more self-control than all the people in the store. Okay? Kashrut teaches you self-control.
Why wasn't the candy kosher?
They had a year with it, right?
I don't remember the specific candy. It didn't have a hexture.
But that doesn't make it unkosher.
Yeah, but there was something wrong. I don't know, I had gelatin, who knows?
I was just curious.
This is a long time ago. This is like years ago. Anyone here ever been on a diet? Anyone here ever had that feeling of, I really want it, but I'm not gonna have it, and you feel so good about yourself because you withheld yourself, right? That feeling of power, you are strong, you are in control. Okay? Kashrut gives you that. Shabbat gives you that. Okay, yeah, you're suffering, you can't go to wherever you want to go, but you're like, I'm controlling myself. So she wants to know, what is this source of self-control that is more powerful and more meaningful to him than 6 silver beds, 1 golden bed, and a naked woman on top? She wants, because whatever this is, this has to be important. She's interested. She wants to know. Okay.
She wrote the information and placed it in her hand.
Keep going.
She arose and divided all of her property, giving 1/3 as a bribe to the government, 1/3 to the poor, and she took 1/3 with her in her possession, in addition to those beds of gold and silver.
Okay, so I don't know why she's taking silver and gold beds. I mean, it's just like, does she have a caravan or a U-Haul or a truck, or I don't know. But she's taking this. Now, notice there's 6 of silver and 1 of gold. What does that represent?
Oh,
7.
6 days of the week and.
And Shabbat.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. This is like clean
Wow.
sheets every night. Okay.
Which government, hers or his?
Hers. Okay, no.
Okay, she came to the study hall of Rabbi Haya and said to him, my teacher, instruct your students concerning me and have them make me a convert.
Yeah, I want to become Jewish. I want to join this group.
Wow.
I want to join this group of superhuman, moral, and ethical people.
Yeah.
She's impressed. She's also wearing more clothing now, so it's okay. Now,
Okay, Rabbi Haya said to her, my daughter, perhaps you set your sights on one of the students, and that is why you went to convert.
okay. One of the things that most irritates me, I haven't seen it lately, thank God, but when people say, oh, they just converted to get married, they're not a real Jew. That really upsets me, right? But you've heard it said, right? Oh, they just converted to get married. No pejorative sense here, right? There's no judgment going on here. He's saying, are you impressed by one of my students? Because clearly, it's a good product. No doubts about her. Okay.
She took the note that the student had given her from her hand and gave it to Rabbi Hia.
He said to her, "Go take possession of your purchase."
Wow. She's bottom. But what do you think about that in a way? It kind of throws everything on its head. Usually, when you talk about acquiring a wife, there's a bride price, right? You're acquiring a wife. It's like a purchase. But she has acquired him. How has she acquired him?
He demonstrated something about his beliefs, right? That
He made a contract and he didn't fulfill his part of it.
Oh. Well, there you
I
go.
see it that, like he gave her a dowry, basically.
In a way.
Yeah.
But also, but she purchased him. She gave up her whole lifestyle. And if you're making 400 gold pieces and gold zuz a night, that's a pretty significant lifestyle she's walking away from. She has given that all up because she likes this guy. And she likes the tradition more, but she likes the guy. And that's how she's purchased it. She's purchased it because she has given up something of value.
But she's taking her, let's say, fond memories with her, though. She's keeping her beds. She's
Well, yeah.
keeping what her
Well, to use,
lifestyle
to
was.
use, but yeah, but just with him. He's the only person who's gonna have the best.
Or she's holding that over his head, saying,
No.
don't fool around, or, I still have my beds.
No, that's what the seat seat are for. The seat seat will keep him on the straight and narrow. Every time he gets undressed, he's gonna get caught. Okay, let's keep going.
Those beds that she, those beds that she had arranged for him in a prohibited fashion, she now arranged for him in a permitted fashion.
See, the beds will be put to good use.
The Gemara completes its point about the reward of mitzvot and points out how this story illustrates the concept. This is the reward given to him in this world, and with regard to the world to come, I do not know how much reward he will be given.
You see, he followed the mitzvah seat, and look at the reward he gets. Okay, what do you think of that story?
Great story. Someone had mentioned that a man can't control or a woman their desires. The only thing they control is their behavior. So if you concentrate on trying to control your desires, you're going to fail because you can't control that. You have to control your behavior and train yourself to resist your desires.
You have to channel your energy. So they give this example, Shimshon Raphael Hirsch says that Isaac made a mistake raising Esau, right? You've got Jacob and Esau, right? And Jacob is like, okay, forget what it says in the Bible, because he's just a crooked guy. But in the rabbinic tradition, Jacob is like studying in the school all day, and he's a book learning, Casey learning. And Ishmael and Esau, his brother, is like, yeah, he's in school with his brother, but he needs to go out and run, right? And it's the wrong education for him. And that's why he doesn't do anything with his education. And really, what they should have done is given Esau an education that involved more physical activity and more independent exploration. And Hirsch is of the opinion that Esau would have been the greater Torah student and the greater man than Jacob, because he has all that energy, and what you want to do is harness it, right? Harness it. It's in the Orthodox world, it's the little kids who are running around with all the energy. Those are the ones that are going to go out and spread Judaism to the world. You just need to focus them, just need to give them some direction. But if you just try to inhibit them from doing anything, they're just going to explode in different directions. So too with this.
So something related to this, does it mean that you're not doing anything wrong with evil thoughts, only with evil action?
Yeah. And they have stories about giving into the evil urge. And they say the person, at the end of your life, your Yetzer Hara is revealed to you, your evil urge, right? And for the righteous person who never sinned, their evil urge is huge. And for the person who did give in to sin, it turns out it was just a mole.
So is this a difference between Judaism and Christianity?
Expand that.
Well, in Judaism, you just said that evil thoughts don't matter, it's what you do.
Mhm.
Is that a difference between?
Yeah, sure.
Judaism and Christianity?
So for example, Jimmy Carter had lust in his heart and he counts himself as a sinful person. It's like, no. Bill Clinton. Sinful person with the lust, okay? Jimmy Carter, no. Richard Nixon, faithful, right? Devoted husband, right? Never cheated. Kennedy? Oh my God, okay? So the greater the man or woman, the greater the Yetzer, right? People who have a lot of temptation have a lot of drive. And it's not an accident that the people who are driven to become the top of society have huge desires. The difference is some of them channel it into more productive ways and others don't. No. They said to us in rabbinical school, at some point, might never happen, at some point, you're gonna run into people who just think you're wonderful because you're the rabbi. Be very careful, right? Especially at a time when your wife is gonna be saying, you left your socks on the floor. And someone else is saying, oh, Rabbi, you're so wonderful. Right? It's like, just remember, be like Richard Nixon. They didn't say that part, but yeah, we believe that, it's okay to have desires because you can't change that, but you have control over your thoughts and you have control over your behavior. It's beliefs. You've got your thoughts, and you've got your emotions, and you've got your behavior. And if you want to change your emotions, either change your thoughts or change your behavior, right? Think about happy things or smile. That will help you feel happier, right? You can't change your emotions on a dime. You can't change your desires on a dime, but you can refocus them through activity or through thought.
Or through
Thought. Thinking, right? And that's not Judaism, that's cognitive behavior therapy, okay? Theory, right? Cognitive behavior theory, right? It's like a triangle, right? And your emotions, I am not qualified to teach this, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Just, but please ask a qualified psychologist or whatever. But look, there's your emotions. And you can't change your emotions. But you can change your behavior. And you can change your thoughts. Right? If I pull on this string, it moves that. If I pull on that string, it moves that. Right? Your thoughts can also affect your behavior as well. Or your behavior can affect, but it's like you pull on the strings and you can move it. You can't move this on its own, but you can guide it. These are the reins.
So by changing your behavior, eventually you'll be strong enough to, your thoughts you can control your thoughts.
Sure, right, yeah. Yeah, your behavior can modify your thoughts. Your behavior can modify your emotions. Your thoughts can modify your behavior. Your thoughts can modify your emotions. The problem is, don't let your emotions overwhelm your thoughts or your behavior, right? Bill Clinton. Jimmy Carter. Okay? I don't think it occurred to Nixon to cheat on his wife because he was too busy cheating on other things. That was unkind, I'm sorry. One of the greatest presidents ever, though.
Yeah, it's interesting, Nixon.
And Nixon did
Yeah.
some good
He
things.
got caught up in his own ego.
Yeah, he was afraid. He would have won the election anyways. He didn't need to do the
Didn't need to
spying
do
thing,
that.
but what a and he had the decency to resign.
Yeah, no. That's like
It's not like it's not like he's running again.
We've had some duties, we've had some duties.
Well, thank you for learning again today.
Very good class.
Oh, I didn't punch holes in them last week, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I did try to deliver a quality product.